Hi, John.
Hi. This is probably our last episode, right? No, our last episode using good old Skype.
Yeah, it sounds like it's. Well, I just got this notice.
Well, I haven't actually gotten it in the app, but I did read a few weeks ago that Microsoft is going to kill it off.
You heard it here first. John didn't get it in the app. You're listening to Time to Lean, and here's a song. This is Ed Uncle Hat, your narrator. John and Phil are going to have a beverage and talk a bit, and then they're going to write a song about something to talk about, and probably in that order. Episode 99 is forthcoming.
Well, I'm really surprised it's still going, frankly.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, I think most people
use Zoom.
yeah. Well, everybody's
or Google,
Teams or whatever,
Google Chat or something,
thing. But yeah, it's so funny because with podcasters, there's this long. It was kind of the tool of choice, kind of in the early days.
So basically, we use it to hear each other, but we use something else to record. I suppose we could use Zoom. I don't know.
Well, there are a couple of things. In the early days, Skype had the best audio quality out of what was available then. And it was also, of course, one of the first audio and video chat services. It's still a really well-known brand name that Microsoft somehow managed to squander. But the thing that was really, besides the audio quality, was just higher for podcasting. There also used to be tools that you could do integrated recordings.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately got, on the Mac, they just stopped developing it, and we haven't used it in a long time. But
no, we record using Audacity.
And that's one reason why Skype held on with podcasters so long, because it allowed you to not only talk like you were talking on the phone or whatever, but it also allowed you to do recording. And there are other ways to do that now, of course.
I guess we could do that with Zoom.
Yeah, you can obviously do Zoom recordings, but the quality of the audio on Zoom recordings is just not that good.
I suppose we could.
It's, I'm sure it's being used all over the place for people, which is one reason why a lot of podcasts sound like trash. But.
Well, we'll figure out some other way we could still record on Audacity, but to
actually talk to each other, we might have to actually switch to Zoom but you can. The beauty of that, of course, is that you can use it anything you want.
Yeah. Well, then you could record Zoom and have a backup too in case something happened with the
and
recording.
that might just be what we do. But
this is inside the belt stuff, or under the belt. I'm not very good with phrases. This is under the belt stuff. Oh,
seeing how the vegan sausage gets made. It's not very good.
Are you saying that my member is a vegan sausage?
Oh no,
we were talking about under the belt. No, never mind. At least it's not Vienna sausage. Isn't there a Billy Joel song about Vienna sausage?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe former Vienna sausage fan Eric S. would be able to tell us that. Oh, if he ever listens to this, I'm sure we'll hear about it.
Oh, I wanted to mention friend of the show, David Daniels. I won't use his initial because he's a performer.
He's a public figure.
He's a public figure. He is. And he's got a thing he's doing.
Well, so do I.
We already talked about that. I'm glad he has a thing.
And it's not in a little can of whatever. Okay, I'm done. Good night. I'll see myself out.
Well, I started it. There's it's a thing called Substack. I don't know if you've heard of that, but
oh yeah, have you read my Substack?
Yeah. So he's got one of those going. It's Roots Writer, WRR. No, it's not. It's Roots Writer, ROOTSWRITER.substack.com. So I just thought I'd put a little plug in there because he's been on the show. He's still working on his memoir called An Unusual Life, and he did that We did that song with him about that.
Right.
On a previous episode. I don't know which one.
That was a wild time. Yeah.
It was too wild. I'm still recovering.
Yeah, Danny.
Great. Well, shout out
Danny Bolt
to
was on percussion. Yeah.
to people doing their own independent things, and it's just great. There's so many different ways for people to get out their messages and content.
Yeah, and if you want to sponsor them, go ahead. It's kind of like a Patreon thing, I suppose.
I think some. Yep, they have subscriptions, and there's lots of different ways for people to be supported.
50 ways to support your podcast. That's the song.
Okay.
Either that or 99 Luftballons. No, that is a real song. This is episode 99.
I gotta say, that is not one of my favorite 80s classics.
No?
I find it kind of annoying.
Well,
I mean, it's not as bad as Hey Mickey.
No. Well, that was fun.
That was the first couple of times, maybe. But
what about I Like Candy?
Oi.
That's up there. I like candy.
I like
That's
candy.
more 70s, though, isn't it? Or early 80s.
Well, too bad we don't have Matt P here to tell us.
I think I saw that one before. I think that's pre-MTV, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
No, maybe not. It was just
the funny part is of course people I think forget that there were actually music videos before MTV got on cable. I mean, people were making them, and I'm not really sure where they were played.
Oh, we watched them on HBO.
Did HBO run them?
Like in between. I may have talked about this on one of my favorite things to do when we had the fell off the truck version. Scrambler or whatever they called it.
Oh yeah. Get free HBO with this little box you put on your outside your house or wherever.
So I'd have but somehow I had the program still. I don't know how, but anyway, maybe I stole that from a store.
Oh, you mean the little magazine that came every month that had the program schedule in it?
Yeah, somehow I got that.
Oh, I remember.
Maybe somebody lent it to us.
It was really small, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like it was a
like
little magazine.
Yeah, it was like
zine.
the dimensions of like a Reader's Digest. If
but
kids
not
don't know
that
what
thick.
That is, but
or maybe even maybe they were trying to be about the same size as TV Guide or something, but not as thick.
Oh yeah, that's probably it.
And so I'd look and see when the movies would end. And when the next thing would start, and if there was a long enough break, I knew they'd add this filler stuff.
That's right. They did that in weird little short. It was almost kind of a
animated movies,
high concept night flight.
Yeah. So that was my favorite thing. I was like, I would like make sure to go in there and that was I may have recorded. I think I did record some of that stuff after VHS, but I can't remember. That might have been much later.
Yeah. So anyway, it obviously got put out other places, but
yeah,
that's interesting.
Well, they did because Devo did a whole market. It was like kind of a marketing thing, so it must have been on late night TV in different markets or something. I don't know.
Apparently, yeah. We didn't have HBO really when I was growing up. We always had cable, but not HBO. I think we kind of went back and forth between Showtime and Cinemax.
Yeah, you always had to have the different thing.
Yeah, honestly, part of it was just whatever service had more older movies on it.
That's what your dad wanted.
He would usually get those, and there was a time in the 80s where those services kind of in between all of their new release stuff, they would put out older things.
No, I get it. And HBO usually was more on the newer side.
They definitely had less of that. So
okay,
and having Cinemax is the perfect complement to having a Betamax.
You just like things that had Max in it.
Yeah.
Although it did come in handy because you actually had a season of SCTV that I couldn't watch later on. The
famous Cinemax SCTV season, which is the only one I ever saw, of course, which is not considered the best one, of course.
No.
That was kind of the swan song.
Yeah, they probably should have let it go.
Half-assed. There were some very funny things on it.
Oh, yeah.
but I think overall it was not quite the classic that the rest of the run was.
No, and I don't think I have the whole series, and I wish I would have. But when Rhino or whatever was putting them out, I got the first few box sets, but I can't remember. I may only have the first 3 seasons. I suppose there's still a way to get them, but
there's a way. Yes, I might even have them. I can't remember, but
so there.
Yeah,
we
should
probably jump into the what you're drinking.
What
thing.
are you drinking?
But we won't. We won't go. Deb K, if you're listening, we won't talk as long as episode 98 did. That was
a lot.
That was a booze.
I can guarantee you, my mother does not give a shit about what type of old fashioned we were drinking. Safe to say.
Oh well, I guess what and guess what, Deb? I'm drinking an old fashioned. But I'm making that. Actually, I ran out. I made that one we talked about, the lazy old fashioned. John and I have our own. Maybe we'll have to call it something different. The time to lean old fashioned or something.
Yeah.
That's just
which is what?
Well, it's like an old fashioned, except you use. I don't use any fruit. I just use the some cherry flavor. You can get cherry bitters, but I just use a little of the cherry liqueur.
That's right.
Or I'm not cherry liqueur, but cherry juice from the jar, and some orange bitters. And you mentioned you got some orange bitters too.
I do that as well. Yeah, the good cherries are kind of expensive.
No, I got the old ones.
I wonder if the
cheap ones.
The maraschino ones.
Yeah.
Okay, so the only problem with those, and I like them once in a while, but the issue is they have this I think this almond flavor.
Sure.
That's a little different.
It's amaretto.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's a different thing. But a lot of bars make old fashions with those. So whatever.
That's kind of what I'm used to. The dive bars.
Yeah. So that's fair.
I'll need to get another one pretty soon here, but.
Yes.
What are you drinking?
Oh, and what's the whiskey du jour? That's what my mom really wants to know.
Sure. I think it's not the base level Jim Beam, but the black or something like that.
Jim Beam Black?
Probably. Yeah, sure. Let's call it that.
Sure.
That's what I'm having.
Okay.
It's okay.
I am doing a bourbon.
Yeah.
And
just a bourbon.
Yeah, I'm sipping one. I'm still cleaning out the bottles I bought like a year ago or whatever. So.
Well, I'll come over and help. We'll have Lee and Sean, and
there's still time. And plus we have to have a little ceremony to bust out the time to lean. And here's a song commemorative bottle of Maker's Mark.
Oh yes, got to try to keep some of that.
So it's not open. It's still.
All right. You've been.
Oh no! I'm not gonna get that out till you're here. So.
Now, full disclosure: the last time Phil was over there, they somehow forgot. But there will be another day.
We'll have a special.
I just figured it would be like watching a show with my daughter April, where she just can't wait for me, so she goes ahead and then comes back.
No. no, that's sacred.
And I'm like, well, don't tell me what happens.
No, today I'm near the bottom of this bottle of Larceny Barrel Proof bourbon.
Oh, Larceny.
That is it's basically a high strength Larceny bourbon. I think this one weighs in at 62.2%.
Oh my! Larceny. I've heard of that.
Yeah. It's kind of a, I think it used to be. It's one of those ones they rebranded like 10, 15 years ago. It used to be like Old Fitzgerald or some other.
Oh, yeah.
It used to have a different name that was kind of bottom shelfy.
A Heaven's Hill kind of one, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is.
And who else? Are they the ones that do Buffalo Trace and that too? Or is that a different company?
No. Buffalo Trace is their parent conglomerate is the Sazerac Company.
Oh, sure.
And that's
Heaven Hill Distillery, established in 1935. Barrel proof. So it's a 6 to 8 year old one, I've heard.
The barrel proof one is Yeah, I think it is
they
older
say,
than. Yeah, no, it is an under 10 years, but it's older than the standard version. Yeah, I'm trying to remember.
It's won some awards.
No, it's very, very highly reviewed, and it's also not overpriced, which I like. I mean, you can usually find it for, certainly no more than $60.
Oh, I've had this set. I don't know if it was barrel proof, but I've had my friend Mark that is in Apollo. Has got a whiskey collection, and I've had it over there, I'm sure.
I think it's a wheat forward bourbon, so it's a little on the sweeter side. So it doesn't have that spice, but yeah, it's really good.
Well, how would you describe its aroma?
It's a heavy oak vanilla thing.
Okay,
really hits that very, very hard on the nose, and it's on the sweeter side. It almost has that same kind of profile as a Buffalo Trace or Blanton's or whatever, except it's a lot stronger.
Maybe that's what I was confusing with. But how would you describe the taste?
Yeah, there's a little bit of fruit in it. Lots of brown sugar, vanilla notes.
Okay.
It's very, very nice. It isn't the most. I mean, it doesn't have a lot going on, but it's very tasty.
Well, okay. So here's what they say. I was kind of testing you. When I say they, it's the
tasting notes. Yeah.
The website. The color is dark sepia. Ooh.
Well, it's very dark, but most of them are.
Aroma, toasted bread with maple and cinnamon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cinnamon's another one. Yeah, they're right.
Okay. Taste, rich molasses coats the tongue with notes of fig and hazelnut. That wasn't the fruit you went with, though. You're not getting fig, are you? I mean, now that I've said it, you might.
And it is Heaven Hell. I was couldn't remember who made that one. Some of them kind of blur together.
I was pretending I didn't know, but I looked it up.
Yeah.
So, finish is nuanced flavor fades into lingering warmth. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So there.
Yeah. So
that's that.
Good deal. Yeah. That's what I got. I'm gonna nurse this for a little while.
Hello, nurse. Now I'll be right back. I should have brought the bottle. It's too early to take a break.
You can't play the song yet. No.
Oh, it's warm in here, John. Oh.
We'll talk about the weather when Phil gets back. In progress.
Sorry about that. I ruined our flow.
That's okay.
Kiss my grits, Mel.
You can.
That's a different flow.
Interject something from the narrator. He had to work a lot on the last episode.
He did. Did you ever post that?
Oh, speak of the devil, I posted it right before we started recording.
All
so
right. Well, we don't need to talk about that. Okay.
So
I wanted to know, but okay.
So should we? Let's see. We should.
Yeah,
maybe
we'll definitely
start talking about what July 4th.
Oh, what do you do for the 4th of July? No, we'll get this out sooner.
Yes.
I'm working on a new routine, so
it's a new regime, as my mother would say. Hi, Mom.
Deb K, fan of the show, except the drinking talk. She's not anti-drinking. I've seen her.
Oh no,
she drinks her wine. What kind of wine does she like?
She is I think usually reds.
I've seen.
I don't think I can identify a specific one, but
Well,
whatever is around.
We'll have her on and say, "What's your mom drinking?" Will be a new segment.
Yeah, that won't go very long, will it? That's funny.
Well, maybe Jody and your mom could talk about wine. They both like wine.
Sure.
We'll have them both on.
Yeah.
We'll never get that figured out. Maybe. You never know.
Unfortunately, we really wanted to get my brother Rob on for this
you
episode.
Wanted him to talk about
I thought it
pots.
would be fun for him to talk about, neti pots and nasal hygiene.
Fun for everyone. Well, spring is coming and allergy season. And
he is very passionate about that. So,
I love people that are passionate about things. And and not like, white supremacy stuff.
So. Everybody's got to have a hobby.
Yeah. Oh boy. Some of these hobbies are terrible. Yeah. Oh, I just wanted to mention George Lowe passed away. He was the voiceover guy. He did it was a show called Space Ghost Coast to Coast. He did the voice of Space Ghost at that iteration. It was like a talk show. For some reason, Adult Swim or whatever decided to do this, like, kind of bring back Space Ghost, which was like from the 60s or something.
You want to say what Adult Swim was?
Well, I don't know how to describe it. Was that on Nickelodeon at night or something, or was that a different channel?
No, it was Cartoon Network.
That's right.
Yeah,
never mind.
Old cable channel back.
Yeah, it was like the adult version of Cartoon Network.
Yeah, no, it was just a thing they did in the evenings.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think the rest of the time they ran like old Hanna-Barbera crap or whatever. Yeah,
sure. I mean, there was some fun stuff on there.
They had a lot. They had a lot of original stuff actually.
Like I think one of my favorite ones was that sort of a takeoff of Johnny Quest. It was
Jimmy Quest.
No, it was like, oh darn it. I wasn't prepared to talk about that. What was that called?
Maybe we should just talk about old fashions again.
Hold on. We'll have to...
Yeah, and Cartoon Network was one of these, one of the many channels that the Turner people came in after they bought all these movie studio properties to have a place to show all the stuff they owned. And
yeah.
Cartoon Network, I think that was its original purpose, was to just they bought all this stuff that the MGM and UA libraries had, and it's like, well, let's start a cable channel and put it there.
It was Venture Brothers.
Oh, okay.
That was really funny too, but yeah. So Space Ghost Coast to Coast. I don't know. It was like really kind of crude animation, like Space Ghost was, but it was like a talk show. And some of Space Ghost villains were like in the band and like the
like the big insect
and stuff
guy.
And yeah,
I don't remember his name, but
yeah. And anyway, I don't know, somehow it got on my radar again, and I think it was just before he died. I hope I didn't kill him, but maybe it was after somehow. But I started watching those again. I've been thinking about it for a while. It's like, oh, that was a funny show. It's hard to describe, I guess. It was just really crude animation. But like a TV would come down and he'd interview people like he was on a different planet. But he'd interview real people. Like,
they were celebrities, right?
Yeah. So they weren't. Yeah.
Maybe B-list or something like that.
Well, no, he had. I mean, on the first episode, the Bee Gees were on, then they blew up or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of killing, and didn't the insect co-host guy get killed every episode or something? I don't know. That's just an impression I had. But
Zorak?
Yeah, something like that.
He was the band leader.
And he also, that show had the most awkward pauses.
Oh yeah, that's what
where they would just cut back and forth between like the guest and Space Ghost, and neither one of them would say anything.
It was wonderful, and I think part of the reason I like that was kind of that pauses are important in theater of the absurd. So whoever created the show, probably William Street, maybe, I don't know. Oh, it's created by Mike Lazo, whoever that is. But he must have had some theater of absurd background or something.
Yeah.
Or just like the pauses. Yeah.
But
and then weird things would happen.
The guy had, though, the best, authoritative voice of God voice.
Right. And I guess he would go to, cons or whatever they are, and Comic-Cons or whatever, and dressed as Space Ghost, and so that was fun. Gary Owens did the original Space Ghost. And I don't know if anyone knows who that is, but he's a famous voiceover guy. From the 60s and probably 70s. Anyway, started watching that again a little bit. they're short, and
That's great.
it's just the awkward pauses are wonderful, and sometimes he just like he's got these rays on his wrists, and he points like he's going to shoot him or something, and I don't know, it's just silly, very silly, too silly. So on tonight's show, you might do are you going to do a?
Yeah.
What was the segment called? John's old tech.
John's old tech.
John's old neck.
It can't
John's
hold
old
it up.
knees.
I can't keep it up.
Your neck, your head.
Well, yeah.
This massive brain. I
Swelling,
don't know.
itching
They
brain.
I don't think they have drugs for that for men to help keep their heads up.
neck Viagra. If your
rub
neck
it.
stays up for more than 4 hours, call your doctor.
It's just lotion. It smells like vapor rub.
It tingles.
The ladies love the vapor rub.
Burnses. That's another thing I was going to talk about, actually. But yeah. No, we can do the. I have a short one, actually. No preparation. H1.
Speaking of lotions, this is our lotion episode.
So bad.
And well, we're getting older.
And we were going to do neti pots, and we devolved to lotions and creams.
As we're getting older, maybe we'll have to do a health segment or a wellness segment. You know what we should do is a DEI segment.
Seven in your health with Dr. Gary Welsh.
We'll do
Somebody out there will recognize what I just said.
It's no Captain 11, but that's fine.
Captain.
Did I ever tell you that story?
I'm Lieutenant 9.
Captain
He's
11
the
was.
sidekick.
Do you know who that Captain 11 was? He was like the Sioux Falls.
Oh yes.
Instead of
I
Blinky
only
the
have
Clown.
heard about it, probably from you.
I probably told this story before, but my friend Jesse. I hope I don't ruin the story. I'm just going to do the short version. If Jesse was alive, I'd have him tell the story. But basically, it turns out that one night or one morning or something like that, maybe it was night, his friend was telling him that when he was a kid, he went into a room and Captain 11 was there with his mom.
That's not funny at all.
And looking back, they probably had done something before he got home or something. But it's like, my mom has had sex with Captain 11.
Okay,
That'll scar you.
yeah.
I mean, maybe it was better than having sex with Blinky the Clown, but I don't know. Oh, somebody did.
We assume, but would not like to verify.
Maybe, yeah, maybe not. I'm not going to Google that.
Oh God.
Ugh. Well, yeah, and I'm going to bring back my segment. I've only done one of those, but the things I didn't know segment. So I think.
Okay, so we have 2 segments tonight.
Yeah. So to flip a coin, I can do mine first.
Okay, yeah, because
All right.
mine
So
sucks. Okay.
I'm gonna. All right. So things I didn't know. Things I didn't know. A new segment on our show. Take it from me, Joe. It's better than stubbing your toe. From the Alamo to Ohio, they love things I didn't know. Put on your suit and tie your chapeau. Let's get back to the show. Things I didn't know. Things I didn't know. Things I didn't know. I'm pausing so it's easier to add it in later, John. Okay. So now this I probably should have known, but if you leave feta out overnight, it smells really terrible. All right. So that's
it.
That's the things I didn't know.
That's the whole segment. I mean, I trust that you did not know this, but that stuff stinks when you don't leave it out.
Maybe that's part of the confusion is that it smells even worse. I don't know.
Well, a lot of things smell worse when you leave them out, including me.
Well, that reminds me of the story when, and maybe we talked about this when Scott T was on, the time that he and Lynn H visited our.
Oh yeah, the towel.
Well, but no, the time when somebody, I think it was Sean or somebody, had like leftovers in there for a long time, and I just thought it would be funny to, hey, smell this, and I opened it up, and oh my God, we had to open up the windows and
evacuate the apartment.
It was so bad.
Yeah,
I blame Sean.
So you probably really,
but I shouldn't have opened it.
Given your history, you should have known this after all.
Maybe this should be called, the segment should be called Things I Should Have Known.
See?
Maybe that'll be the spinoff.
You might have more success with that.
All right. Well, anyway, thanks for listening. And I don't know if there's an outro for the song or not. I can't
think
remember.
the song is longer than the segment.
It is.
Okay.
That's part of the joke.
Okay.
More.
It's all a bit, right?
More inside the beltway stuff, under the belt stuff. All right. You're going to do yours, or you want to talk about what you're watching, or how you been? How you been lately?
Okay. It's
fine.
I'm really glad to be doing this right now because, politics and all that, and
get a break
it's
from
really
that.
nice to not be focused on that as much and just be angry all the time or depressed.
And hopefully, people listening appreciate that we don't talk about that too much, but
because what we talk about is very evergreen. Yeah. I'm okay,
hanging in there,
hanging in there.
Living the dream.
My dog is giving me looks like I need to go feed her, but
no,
I'm not going to do that right now.
Maybe Birdie wants some bourbon.
Okay, I'll get into my segment.
All right. Now, what is this called again?
Previously on John's Old Tech.
John's Old Tech. Okay, now we need that theme song.
John's Old Tech. John's Old Tech.
What the heck is John's Old Tech? All right.
Okay, it's over. So tonight I'm going to touch on, and we talked a little bit about it before, and we've definitely brought it up in a tangential way. Is cable television.
Well, that's interesting. You were just talking about cable TV.
That's why it's pretty timely. And some of the other ones I've got, I need to actually do a little bit more prep for because I want to get into them deeper. But this one will not take a long time. But
it might be it might be longer than my segment, though.
Well, probably.
Fine.
Unless you have a deep history with feta cheese. I don't know. Cheese.
What do you think about feta cheese? Leave
I actually don't like it.
Comments and subscribe.
I am a betrayer to my Greek heritage. I do not like feta.
I like blue cheese, but I'm not a big fan of feta.
Huh. I kind of lump them in the same category, but
I know
tastes are
Isn't
weird.
that weird?
Right? Yeah.
Fine. And that has nothing to do with cable TV.
Cable TV. That was a jingle for a while, getting people to.
Oh.
It was obviously very effective because I often had cable TV and I remember the damn jingle.
I don't remember that. We never had cable. We had fake HBO.
Yeah, you did have fall off the truck HBO.
Well, we must have had cable at some point.
Well, what was the fake? Well, fake. What was the illicit HBO at your home?
Yeah. So, but I'm guessing it went in through the cable, but I don't remember if we had cable or not. Whatever.
I think you kind of okay.
I thought you needed to have it.
Normally you did, I think, because
tangent alert.
Yeah, I think you had to. All this thing was in the old days was this little device you'd put on in line of the cable
right.
that would kind of take off the little signal that they put on there to make it not work.
Yeah,
right. This was all analog TV stuff, and
it was like scrambled, so you could kind of see it, but it was like
it really, definitely had this interference, and then this device it wasn't even it was just a little, I should look up what how they worked exactly, but it was this thing it wasn't powered. It wasn't like a converter box or something. It was just this little thing you put on in the cable line itself.
That might have been an interesting technology too. I mean, how did that work?
Yeah, actually there probably is, and it's probably some outgrowth of really old analog phone technology. That's where a lot of this stuff came from.
I mean, you could kind of make out some of the scrambled stuff a little bit sometimes, because I remember watching like Showtime late at night, they'd show boobs and stuff, and so anyway, I was at that age where, wow, hell, I'll watch scrambled boobs. I don't care.
Well, there's a title,
scrambled boobs.
Maybe not.
That's not the song.
I want it to be the title, but it probably won't be. Yeah, so
it would be up there with Space Poop. Okay, I'll let you talk now.
No,
sorry.
Okay. So yeah, cable TV is, most of you probably know, was basically just a way for people to get broadcast TV in places where an antenna wouldn't quite reach.
No, and then they would have other content they would add and stuff too.
And yeah, so the earlier versions were just basically a company would be set up to basically resell terrestrial TV through a wire, and then you could get it without having to have antennas on your roof.
I guess I didn't realize it was basically set up for regular TV.
That's
to help you get regular TV.
That's because that's all there was. There was still just broadcast TV, and this was a way that was, it's quite old. I think it was first done in the 60s to do that, and they would gradually kind of build it out, and then the history of HBO is actually really kind of interesting, and how these people came up with this idea to have actually show uncut movies and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
and charge money for it. It
was great.
It was this pretty wild idea at the time, but really at the beginning though, yeah, it was just a way to get regular TV to people's homes, and probably places like apartment buildings and stuff like that where it was tough to put up antennas, or the geography of the area made TV reception difficult.
So what about satellite dishes? Was that
right.
Did that predate?
So, there's, and I'll get into home satellite stuff a little bit.
Because one of my in-laws had one of those when I first was dating Jody.
So,
huge disc.
Yeah, they used to call them big ugly dish, is what, or what they often call C-band. That's what those really big ones that you put out in the middle of your lawn or something like that.
Yeah, it was huge.
So big ugly dish was a thing. And they were buds, yeah. And
hey man, that's buds.
Most people though they would have cable wired into their house, and
sure.
And when I was growing up, and I'm sure we had this from the mid to late 70s onward, is the Rapid City Cable was just, they would put the local channels on there, of course, because that's how it all started, and then they got the idea to do Denver television stations.
Yeah, and
that was so. And I'll bet other regions, whatever the nearest metro area was, probably is what they would rebroadcast, right?
Yeah, and we've talked about what is it, KWGN before.
Oh yeah, you got good old Channel 2.
Good morning. This is KWGN TV, Channel 2 in Denver, and transmitter link KAL 92, beginning another broadcast day. We are owned and operated by WGN of Colorado Incorporated, with transmitter atop Lookout Mountain near Denver. Portions of our programming today are pre-recorded. All rights to the program materials seen on this station are reserved. These programs may be received only in places where no charges are made and may not be used in any other manner. This seal of good practice is KWGN's pledge to present the finest in entertainment, educational, and informational programs to our community. It indicates our adherence to the television code of the National Association of Broadcasters.
So that was only on cable?
And that, well,
No, that was on.
No, if you lived in Denver, it was TV, which is why, of course, a lot of us that grew up with that remember, commercials like Jake Jabs from American Furniture Warehouse or Big Sur waterbeds and Casa Bonita ads, to bring us back to that.
So you had to have cable in order to watch that in Rapid City?
In Rapid City, yeah.
So I did have cable.
You must have had cable. And in those days, there was just basic cable and maybe HBO if they offered it.
Or if you had the little
you'd cheat.
Translator.
And I think people found ways to share cable because, again, it was all analog. So there was no way so you would get this signal in a wire. And I think typically how they did it is if you subscribed, the technician would come to your house and get up on the pole and wire your house in so you got cable.
Yep.
And then once you got that, you could split it out as many times as you wanted to.
I remember splitters.
And the people's homes were full of you go in a basement and they're all over the place in the ceiling, and it was just I lived in many places where there was just this rat's nest of coaxial cable with splitters, and of course you would do too many of them and the signal would get shitty.
Sure.
And then sometimes I got to go to Radio Shack and we got a booster.
Oh, and then there was a booster.
To because I've got like 8 TVs wired up or something like that, or I'm sharing with my neighbor.
Right.
Wow. And that was kind of the Wild West, and people found ways around it.
The Golden Age.
And that made it very easy though because it was analog. There was no way for them to tell how many people were watching it. All that stuff. It was really, great in some ways and not great if you're the cable company and you want to make more money the more people watch, right?
They did fine.
Of course they were assholes. They did just fine. But so a little bit later on, and I don't remember when these first appeared, but it was in the 80s sometime. They started adding a lot more cable only channels. HBO was kind of one of the first ones ever, but then and then Showtime came along, and then then all these kind of what they used to call expanded basic,
right? Because then you'd have to pay extra.
CNN, for example, that was one of the earlier ones too. And
I remember when that came on.
All of those channels were kind of part of the expanding use of satellite TV, right? Just like the big ugly dish thing. Well, the reason you could put a big ugly dish in your yard and get all these channels was because that's how all these channels kind of got their signal to all the cable companies.
They're on the air.
And they would be up on the satellite, and if you paid some money, you could tap into that. But that same technology is how it was sent to your house on a wire as well.
Oh, interesting.
And so so all the cable company really did, besides maintaining the giant network of wires, is they would have an office somewhere in town with a bunch of satellite dishes and antennas.
Oh, okay.
That's all that was. Is they took that and then just encoded it on the wire that went to your house.
In my head, I always felt that cable was more consistent than a satellite dish, even though I never had one. But because I always
they had better equipment and they had lots of tech to make it, because they had to scale it to so many houses. Right?
It wasn't like so related or dependent on the weather. I mean, even a satellite dish would be like.
I'm sure they had outages too, but
sure.
So that again, that was the good way to get TV that was more or less stable. And once unless your utility pole lost its stuff, there
was a cream for that too. No, but
but all these extra channels came out and things are starting to go to digital technology, right?
And cable access, don't forget that.
Well, there was
a lot
of
weird stuff on there.
That's
another
weird kind of left turn there into content.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
But so since you had all these extra channels, because in the original days when we had cable, you plugged it into the back of your TV and you got 2 through 13 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And there was never a channel 1.
Was there a 13? Bad luck.
13, yeah, 13 was the highest one, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
bad
that
luck.
sounds right.
But there's no floor 13 on an elevator.
No. Well, there are. All right. But you get into that and like, okay, we ran out of space. We don't have more room on the TV. And so they devised this thing called a cable box.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, that you would rent from the cable company.
Of course.
And that's how you would get those extra channels.
$4 a month or something.
MTV or CNN or USA Network or whatever it was.
I remember, and there was like buttons or something to switch to the different.
Yeah, at first they had all these little buttons you would select. That was just a mechanical switching device, and
click.
And then sometime in the 80s, they started rolling out digital cable boxes with a little alphanumeric display on the front, and a remote control. Had a remote control, and that's when they started to be able to gatekeep subscribers.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's when you get into the fact that if you want it, you have to pay for each what they would call an outlet.
Yeah.
I don't know why I remember that, but you have 3 TVs, you have 3 outlets in your house.
Okay.
And then I think for a long time, if you didn't have the box or didn't choose to rent it, you would only get kind of whatever is on the analog stuff. So usually the broadcast or
basic
channels. Cable. That was the basic, yeah.
Now in Minnesota, when I came here, they were required to carry basic cable. I don't know if all states do that, but Minnesota has, I think, still does. They have to. I think it's even.
Now, do you mean that the cable companies were required to carry all broadcast channels? Is that what you mean?
Like the local stations?
Yeah. That was a definite thing that they
not
had
basic cable with the local channels. Yeah.
That was a thing that the FCC I think had to regulate because some of them would say, I don't really want to carry PBS or some weird little indie station
or your local news,
or whatever
or your weather
for various reasons. And the reason they didn't usually wasn't because they had some agenda. It's because every time they carry your local CBS affiliate or whatever, they had to pay what they call a carriage fee.
Right. I get it. And
it costs them money. And of course, they pass it on to you and all that crap. And they are free over the air, which is in itself a little bit funky. But soon they just said, this is kind of an equal access issue. And we need to require that if it's a broadcast channel in your area, that they have to carry it.
And if I'm not mistaken, in Minnesota, they also fixed the rate. So you wouldn't have to pay more than $4 a month for it.
I'm sure they did. Yeah, that's a very Minnesota
big government
thing to do. They did not do that in South Dakota, I'm sure.
Big government. The Christy Gnome channel.
So anyway.
Sorry, politics.
Where's need the record scratch.
I'll add it.
So by that point, you've got cable starts slowly becoming digital and all that stuff, which it all gets into the adoption of digital TV over the air and all that kind of thing. And over the years, everybody had to have cable boxes, and that sucked. And then
because you had to rent them,
they would never sell you one.
They owned them.
Now there was this period of time where and it was probably a thing that the government required them to do.
Yeah,
and they half-assed.
Probably was some liberal.
They finally. So for a long time, TVs. If you had these digital channels, and because they were encoded, so you couldn't just watch them, and you had to have a box, and those things sucked. You had to plug them in, have a separate remote, and extra wires, and it was just
all
dumb.
These wires.
It was just a pain in the ass. And wouldn't it be great if you could just plug your cable wire into the back of the TV and just turn it on and go?
Yeah.
That was kind of the dream,
Why
right?
do you need an interface?
You use the TV's built-in tuner to get all your channels. It's all baked in. And so
baked.
And during the analog era, you could do that. Like they made what they called cable-ready televisions, right?
Yeah.
And then that meant that it had the circuitry in there to get all those non-encrypted, non-digital channels. And then eventually they became digital channels. But at some point, the cable companies are like, no, it's too easy to copy and do other things. So we need to encrypt everything. So only our equipment can unscramble them.
Tales of the Encrypted.
And so what happened is that there was this little. This is getting way longer than I thought it was going to. Sorry about that.
Well, at least we're not just talking about booze all day.
See, stop complaining.
And no politics.
No, that you ought to be very grateful. You could fall asleep to this almost.
Well, there's a market for that, I know.
Yeah. And so they came up with this, what seemed like a really good idea. It was called Cable Card. And it was this little metal card that you would still have to probably rent it, but it was
I don't remember
couple
this.
of bucks. Yeah, it wasn't very successful.
But your family had it. It was like the Betamax.
It was after I was away from.
You left the nest.
This is a post-college thing that came out.
I don't remember ever hearing about that. Cable card.
Yeah,
it's like a library card.
Yeah, I suppose. It looks kind of like a card. It's a little computer card that's got a bunch of circuitry in it. And what it would do is it would decrypt all those channels.
Wow.
So it was basically the security part of a cable box put into a little card. And then the idea was that TV manufacturers would make the TVs with a slot that you would put the card and you'd put the card in the slot on your TV and plug the cable in.
People could make fake cards.
Yeah, they could. I think it was pretty sophisticated stuff for
okay.
what. Yeah,
for back then.
These had like chips and all sorts of stuff. They were little computer things.
Chips.
And I think most people weren't going to be able to. There probably somebody did, right? But
it didn't seem to take off though, huh?
Well, the problem was it was very, very few TV companies ever made TVs that took them.
Yeah.
And the cable companies honestly didn't like the idea. I think they felt it was forced on them, and they made more money selling boxes.
No.
And
they could put a chip in a box.
Well, the boxes were what they wanted to do, and they half-heartedly
because they were renting these things, and people had them forever.
Yeah. And but the company that, and this is a kind of an offshoot tangent, but the company that kind of took that and ran with it in a very clever way was the original makers of digital video recorders, or DVRs, as we tend to call them.
Okay.
Like TiVo, for example.
Yeah.
And so what they did was...
you had that.
Yeah, I was an early adopter with TiVo. I loved TiVo. And what you could do is you could actually plug your cable card, which you'd get from the cable company, and they would activate it based on you subscribing. And then the TiVo would be able to get all the channels and do it all built in. It was really nice.
So that was the box or interface.
So TiVo was this,
or was it?
Actually, they're still around technically, but TiVo was this box you would buy that had a big computer hard drive in it. Oh. And you'd plug TV signal into it, and it would record it with it had a guide, and you could time shift and fast forward through commercials.
That was the thing. I remember that. That was nice.
Yeah, they were great.
And I'm sure the network broadcasters hated that, but
yeah, they finally figured out after TiVo started to take off that, hey, we could just build cable boxes with this technology in it and charge rent for that.
Yeah,
and then eventually they undercut TiVo and mostly drove them. They're barely in business, but
what was that called when? Nah.
Well, again, the TiVo is just, well, that's what those are. Yeah, they're DVRs.
Yeah, okay. All right.
And
sure.
Most it actually, even like YouTube TV has what they call DVR, but it's all cloud based, and it's just a way of recording shows and playing them back.
Oh, so that's when it says, "Do you want to be able to watch this offline?"
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
Which I've never done.
Those terms are all pretty mushy.
It's in a cloud. It used to be in a box, and now it's in the cloud.
That's right.
I'm in the cloud.
That got kind of interesting, convoluted, but at that point, cable started to just basically they would give you a a hardware a little computer box that you'd plug into your TV that did all this stuff, and now it's all delivered over the internet and all that stuff. So that's kind of the where cable came from and went. And the side thing with satellite dishes, one thing that ties into my previous experience is that back in the it was in the probably the mid 1990s, somebody figured out a way to do satellite TV with really small dishes.
All right, sure.
And they used different satellites and they had different tech, but they were, everybody's seen these things. They're still around, but
oh yeah,
that they call direct broadcast satellite is what
direct
they were called.
TV
Or direct TV was the first
company of version.
And the Dish Network or EchoStar.
Oh right. What was the other one?
EchoStar. Yeah.
Oh, it was green.
No.
Fine.
No, it was echo like sound.
Oh,
yeah.
Eco.
Echo with an H in it.
Oh, okay. So you had to hear everything twice,
right? And the thing about it is that the Big Ugly Dish systems or C-band were not only massive, but they cost an obscene amount of money to purchase because you had to buy the dish and all the boxes to make it work. And
like I said, I only knew one person I think ever that had one of those, and that was one of my in-laws. And when I went to Michigan to visit for the first time, and I remember, getting I guess it was a remote or something, but I was like trying to get these really weird channels like Russia or something.
Yeah, and
the Soviet Union back then.
One of the things that was great about them in the early days is that a lot of the because you were literally tapping into TV satellites.
Oh
you could if you knew where to look, you could get all sorts of stuff that wasn't on your normal cable channels.
Well, and there was kind of a famous thing, I think, where Dan Rather, so you'd get like, you could sometimes see the
feed from the network and all that stuff.
Where you weren't really supposed to see it.
They weren't very careful because they figured hardly anybody was able to watch them.
But then that would show up somehow.
Yeah, people would like get a
somehow
recording.
Record it. Oh, those were funny though.
And those systems were, again, it was very Wild West that they had, but that stuff was so expensive and hard to it was such a niche thing, and the direct broadcast satellite system was amazing compared to that because you get this tiny dish and put it on your roof, or on your yard,
or out your window.
And the thing that was also wild about it was that in those days, what you would do, you would literally. You didn't rent it from the cable company or do anything weird like that. You would go to like Best Buy and get a kit that had the box and the dish and the hardware in it, and you would put it up yourself.
Yeah.
And I remember doing that in the place I lived at the time and running the cable down, and it was cheaper than cable, but it was just cool because, hey, you get to do a satellite dish, and and you own. The thing is, you own the equipment.
Yeah. Why didn't they rent it? I don't know.
Well,
that's the cable model.
Because the electronic it was a disruptive type of a system because they were trying to kind of outmaneuver the traditional cable and satellite companies.
Oh, God bless them. So
it was a big deal, and so many people got into it, and then eventually it kind of morphed into plain old cable, and honestly and at the time, those systems had better picture quality and they had more channels, things like that. And eventually cable caught up to them, and people didn't want to deal with the hassle because not only did you still have to have some, satellite dish on your roof or out in your yard or something like that, but those were impacted by weather and rain. You have what was called rain fade, and that would knock out your picture once in a while and all that stuff.
People don't want that.
And for a long time, there was no way to get local channels on those systems because they did not have any way to tap in. That was always one of their weaknesses.
Oh, that's right. I remember hearing about that.
So, but at the time, I didn't care. I thought it was so cool. You're
international. You're not local.
I just wanted the cool stuff, and it was just the tech was really fun at the time. It felt like you were really living in the future.
My experience with the Big Ugly Dish was it kind of reminded me of like when I was a kid. I'd stayed over at my friend Bill H's house, and they had this really old radio, and you could get you would get I don't know, maybe it was shortwave or something, but you'd get channels from all over the world. You know, you could listen.
Probably shortwave, yeah.
Sure, yeah. It was just so fascinating, and we would do that and go just minutely change the dial, and that'd be like, you know, it was just fascinating. But I guess the Big Ugly Dish experience was sort of like the video equivalent of shortwave radio or something, because you could get some weird stuff.
Yeah, it was a lot of stuff. Again, things that you just couldn't get any other way.
Yeah,
yeah.
And I've always been drawn to that kind of stuff. But.
So that's all really irrelevant now, and everything, and
it's old tech.
But it is old tech, and I'm not going to get into all the reasons why the cable TV industry is dying out and all that. That's a different topic. But the tech has been interesting to see how it worked over the years, and the constant on it all was that we all hated the cable company.
Yeah.
Especially when they became our internet providers, that just doubled it up.
And people bemoan how all these different, you could get. Well, I'm going to get Paramount Plus, but then I'll get the Hulu edition, and it's kind of becoming like little smaller cable companies.
Bundling is that unfortunately was bound to happen.
Yeah, but you don't want to have to get 100 different subscriptions. I mean, you kind of want cable again almost.
And you know what? Yeah, well, I mean, in some ways,
not to pay for it, but
cable, if you actually use enough of it, is a better deal. But the problem is you don't. And one of the things that's still better is that you're not in this model where it's you're paying for the really expensive sports content.
Sure.
Because that's the only way it's remotely affordable is if they spread out that cost among. Anyway, that's a different topic.
I mean, and that's all getting splintered out too now, though.
Yeah, the whole thing is disintegrating. There's it's way different, but that's where we came from.
That was the thing, though. It's like, I don't want to pay for sports. I just want to pay for this.
And you had so little control. I mean, it was, and the part of that was that it was
all or nothing.
It was broadcast, even though it was on a cable and all that stuff. It was still the same model of regular old TV.
But I suppose people paying for the sports things help make sure they could afford to have the channels we wanted to watch. I guess, I don't know.
There was always subsidizing of the within the companies that
of the arts
that there would be some of that, yeah. But
fine, it's like a higher ed. Got to have the sports teams to help have the crochet club, whatever.
Yeah, there you go.
The DEI club.
There's the old tech. Yeah. Sorry it went on so long.
No, that was fun.
It's very sprawling, and yeah.
I enjoyed it. I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but I won't.
Good.
But they can fast forward.
Yeah. So what? Let's see. I'll hit a quick couple of things I've been watching. Some of which we talked about last time, but probably the fun. Well, Severance came back, of course. That's the big one.
Now I heard. Ted Lasso season 4 is coming.
I don't know about that.
Oh boy. Why is that more than one season?
Yeah, I enjoyed the other seasons, but it could have been okay with one.
Yeah, okay.
But no, the most fun though I've had is this show it's been on for a while now. It's an HBO one called The Righteous Gemstones.
Oh yes, I know.
That is a really fun show, and hopefully someday we can talk about it. But it's just a hoot.
A hoot.
And I did, and I, as I mentioned last time, I was going to rewatch the Lord of the Rings movies, and I did get that done.
No.
And they were, those things are still great. I think the effects still look good, and they're just fantastic. I know not everybody loves them, but I think they do such a good job.
Who doesn't love them?
Oh, you hear people crank about them, but I really think they've held up well, and it's such a good cast, and the effects still look really good. Considering how old they are now,
there were some silly things. I mean, the guy surfing down the
down the elephant.
Legolas.
I did laugh at some of that because he's this basically superhero type character.
Pretty silly.
Yeah, there's definitely more jokiness in it than there is from the books, but
it didn't bother me.
But they're fun. It
was fun.
Yep.
I mean, that was pretty silly. That's the one scene where I'm like, oh, that was pretty dumb. But I don't know. But I also kind of laughed at it. So
they hold together super well, and really I actually like the first one the best. For me, that there's something about it, and the Fellowship movie for me has the high. For me, is the best. Even though the other two are obviously very close.
And important.
They have great things happen in them, but I really, just the way it sets up everything is so good, and the sequences they do in there. It also has more downtime for little character things.
Sure.
That's my favorite part is the first movie.
And I think says something that where a movie is probably a lot of exposition is actually one of your favorites.
Well, yeah,
that's not easy to do.
But the material, is notoriously hard to adapt. Those are fun. If you haven't seen them in a long time, I think they're well worth revisiting.
Yeah. Okay. So my one of these YouTube things I've been watching is Kevin Lee Jacobs. Now, this is Jody discovered this guy. He's kind of, the way I describe it, he's sort of like if Bob Ross and Mr. Rogers had a baby, and maybe Martha Stewart's involved there somehow. I don't know. They donated their sperm to Martha Stewart, and they had this Kevin Lee Jacobs baby. But he's he does like gardening and cooking, and he'll just like clean his house. No, I haven't been watching this much, but this is kind of my wife Jody likes it, so this is one of these things we watch together. When I watch Kenny Voltrades, the camping guy. I've talked about that before. My YouTube picks. This is my segment, but if you're into that kind of home. What is that called, that genre that Martha Stewart does? It's not home improvement. It's like
home porn.
No, they're not. He's not doing makeovers.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever. But so he'll it's basically cooking and gardening and cleaning. Maybe the narrator will know what the genre's called, but
wrong.
If you're into that. There you go. And even if you're not into it, it's still kind of interesting. The guy is kind of a character. He talks about his partner who's never on, Mr. Fox or Mr. Silver Fox. He doesn't want to be on TV, but or TV, whatever, YouTube. I guess it's kind of TV still, isn't it?
Yeah, or on
it's
camera.
new tech.
Sure.
On camera. That's a better way to put
video.
it. I think that's
that's like that Andrews guy, the bartender dude who does the videos. His wife, I think, doesn't usually.
They just got married.
They did, yeah. I like their videos. They're well done.
Yeah, and she's usually comes on the end to have a sip.
No, she doesn't avoid it, but is generally behind the camera, I think.
I mean. She's easy on the eyes after a couple of cocktails. Another one of these YouTube things is Glenn and Friends, or was kind of a cooking guy. he'll do like old cookbook recipes, and his wife shows up at the end to taste it. Hi, friends. And I guess we're the friends in Glenn and Friends. He's Canadian. God bless Canada. But what's another one? Oh, he has another offshoot, Cocktails After Dark or something like that, where and I'm guessing he films like 4 or 5 of these in a row. He once showed his he's got like another house or like a studio in the backyard with this complete kitchen and for all the cameras and that kind of thing. That was pretty cool too. So he's been on YouTube for a long time. He's up there with Rick Beato, I'm guessing, as far as these people that make money on YouTube probably. And so that I would recommend that, the Cocktails After Dark. He'll get like really old cookbooks for his other show or really old cocktail books, and he talks a little bit about the history of cocktails and that kind of thing. So I'd recommend that if you're. It's different than what's his name, Anders.
Oh yeah, Anders. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, there's some other. Maybe we could talk about that sometime. Some of these other cocktail YouTubers. There's some other good ones too, but Anders.
Yeah, we should do a little research on that.
I think Anders is probably I don't know. He's not going to sponsor us, but I don't want to. But all right, Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross, and friends, and cocktails.
That's great.
I guess I'm the YouTube guy. I was like, what's Phil watching on YouTube?
Short attention span theater.
Yeah, no kidding.
No, I watch a lot of YouTube as well. I'm just as...
Well, sometimes I see, like, not to be about politics, but sometimes I don't have MSNBC, so sometimes I'll see those things on there. But I try not to watch. Because, I'm usually consuming content.
Well, luckily, like some of these things...
Before bed.
A lot of the segments from The Daily Show or John Oliver and those things are on YouTube as well. So,
yeah,
those are often good.
I know. I usually watch. I'm not going to watch that kind of thing before I go to bed usually. But
yeah, that's the trick. Yeah, the most recent
John Oliver. I'll just be like yelling out the window.
Yeah, the John Oliver thing from a week or two ago about tipping was really good. I like that one.
No,
that was
really
interesting.
That's a hot topic for you.
Some other day we can talk about that or not.
I think we've talked about it a little bit.
I'm sure we have talked about that.
We could have a special guest. Who would be our
time to tip?
Speaking of that, you could go on to coffee something.
Buy me a coffee /time to lean if you want to leave us a wee dram of coffee.
Yeah,
I'm mixing my drinking.
Put a dram in your coffee.
But yes. If you want to support the show,
if you want to put a dram in our coffee,
and you don't have to subscribe,
you could hit twice. Yeah, it's just like a tip.
Or no, you can just it's a one-time thing.
And thanks again to Curtis P. Who
he is our hero.
We'll say sponsored in episode 98, which he hopefully liked. Okay, but
yeah, I know. I haven't.
It was kind of a weird one.
Well, of course, I just put it out. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, we don't know yet. We haven't gotten any feedback.
We will we will get a little more consistent here. We're working on it.
We're working on it. Well, thanks, John.
Well, thanks, Phil. I hope you have we're recording on a late Friday afternoon, and
which is weird. We've done that a few times
and
now.
The weather is warmed up here. In
I know.
Minnesota.
I want to get outside.
Yeah, I'm what we
it's
call outdoor
weather
living.
Here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out and have another beverage and maybe grill. I don't know. I should do that.
Well, it's like 70 something still.
Yeah, and then we might have a blizzard over the weekends.
Yeah. Well, Minnesota, climate change. Here we go.
It's exciting.
And just one thing about politics is that Tim Walz guy. He's going to go out there to your district.
He's going on tour to do town halls. Yeah.
If you live in a red state, your Republican won't come talk to you. He'll go talk to you. So.
I think that's great. He's doing that. Yeah, Bernie Sanders has been doing that, a different version of that lately. But
sure.
Yeah,
Feel the burn.
Go Tim. Yeah. We don't know what he's doing yet for his future political thing. He's not going to run for Senate. I know that, and I don't think he's going to run for re-election for governor. He could. We don't.
You don't?
I don't know. I mean,
because he could, and then just
he
drop
can.
out.
That's true. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah,
because then he could still be governor if he didn't get it.
He's not term limited. Yeah, we'll see. I bet he's kind of
trying to figure it out,
checking the landscape.
Because if he wasn't governor, he'd have like 2 years of what's he gonna do?
He's just gonna sit on his ass and not do anything.
No,
he'll just play video games with AOC. There are worse ways to spend your time.
Well.
Anyway,
stay on her good side. That's all I know.
Yeah, exactly.
God bless America.
Hang in there, everybody. I by the time we release the next one, I hope we're still here.
So the next one
doesn't make any sense.
We'll release it
posthumously. That's
somehow.
It's like a kill switch, right? You can set it up so it automatically releases the next one if we're raptured.
Well, wait. I don't think we're going to be raptured, John.
We ain't going to get no rapture.
No, but if they all did, that would be okay. So what?
Actually, I'd
supposed to be a bad thing.
Yeah. What? Can they do that now? I mean, they got Satan into the presidency. Why can't they get raptured?
Well, not Satan, but his kid. The Antichrist.
Demonic.
President.
That escalated quickly.
No. But yeah, if all the Christian nationalists got raptured, that'd be fine.
Yeah, go for it. Knock yourselves out.
God doesn't want them.
What God
Who does?
wants.
Shit.
Roger Waters can go fucking with them too. Yeah.
Well, where's he? He doesn't care. He's probably
hanging out with Putin or something. I don't know.
Yeah. He's on Josh Rogan's show.
Oh.
All right, John.
On that note, let's get out of here. Get outside.
Bye.
And here's the song.
I want to be your tool of choice. You be the Nora to my Jane's choice. I want to be your tool of choice. I'll make you scream at the top of your voice. I want to be your tool of choice. I'll be the Mustang to your Rolls Royce. I want to be your